All right. Thanks so much for joining us on The Bright Side. We'll be talking to Dr. Althea Myrie in the bottom of the hour. I want to start off the program continuing talking about our favorite antioxidant, the most important antioxidant in the body, glutathione. Glutathione is super important for pretty much every system in the body, but especially important for eye health. It was first discovered in the eyes. We've been talking about how glutathione depletion can affect eye health, and this is something you don't really hear about, you don't really read about, you don't really think about. Certainly your doctors are going to tell you that your prescription drugs, or even your over-the-counter drugs, your Benadryl, your Tylenol, your NyQuil, your Sominex, whatever, all of these can have a degenerative effect on the eyes via glutathione depletion. Glutathione is a detoxifying substance that the body uses to cleanse itself, to purify itself of drugs, prescription drugs, illegal drugs, over-the-counter drugs, whatever. This is what I mean when I say drugs are poisons. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic. Drugs have to be depoisoned. They have to be detoxified, and they use up precious detox resources in order to be cleansed. This is so important because those same detox resources are also involved in protecting various tissues of the body, especially the eyes. Via this mechanism, Benadryl can cause eye disease. Via this mechanism, Tylenol can lead to eye disease. NyQuil, Sominex, all over-the-counter drugs, all prescription drugs, and nobody talks about this. The eyes are a major storage spot, a major storage depot for all antioxidants, and glutathione included. The eyes concentrate vitamin C and vitamin E and selenium and zinc and glutathione and carotenes, and all of these substances are going to be used up as the body needs to detoxify itself, to cleanse itself of whatever kind of poison we're putting in the body. This is the underlying, or at least one of the underlying mechanisms, one of the underlying reasons why drugs are stupid toxins and a crazy way to treat disease. The most common eye disease in the United States is cataracts. According to the World Health Organization, 42% of Americans between the ages of 52 and 64, and over 90% of adults over the age of 70 have some degree of cataracting. Cataracts. Cataracting, if that's a verb, if that's an appropriate verb, whatever. Cataracting or cataracts are a clouding of the eyes. Cataracts are a classic sign of degenerative disease. Cataracts are arthritis of the eyes. Cataracts are Parkinson's disease of the eyes. Cataracts are any kind of degenerative disease you want to name, whether it's osteoporosis or whether it's wrinkles or whatever kind of breakdown disease you want to name. They are the eye's version of a breakdown disease. Cataract removal surgery accounts for 1.5 million surgeries a year. Cataracts are a leading cause of blindness. Cataracts are a classic manifestation of a body in breakdown mode. They are none of your doctor's business. They are our business. Degenerative disease should not involve the medical model. The medical model is helpless and impotent and useless when it comes to degenerative disease. And cataracts are a classic example. The word cataract is derived from the Greek word for flooding. It refers to the whitening effect that appears on the lens of the eye. The lens is a super thin slice of tissue that's supposed to be transparent. A cataract is an old cloudy lens. It's like when you have a cataract and you're trying to look through that lens, it's like trying to look through an opaque shower glass. It's like trying to look through glasses that have lots of cracks in them. The biggest difference between the lens of your eye and the lens of your shower, the door on your shower, or on your glass window, is that the lens of your eye heals and regenerates as long as it has the raw materials it needs, and as long as we have enough detoxifying substances like glutathione. If you're on over-the-counter drugs or prescription drugs and you got cataracts, you should now know via glutathione depletion that there is a connection between the use of these substances, these drugs, and all degenerative diseases, including cataracts. Cataracted lenses are a classic sign of elevated blood sugar, even if you're not a diabetic. The cataracting process is at least partially caused by a glycation reaction, a sugaring reaction between sugar in the blood and the lens of the eye. Even if you're not a diabetic, even if the doctor told you, oh, you don't have diabetes, don't worry about it. Just having elevated blood sugar, chronically elevated blood sugar, can lead to this cataracting chemical reaction, biochemical and biological reaction. Of course, if you're deficient in vitamin C or vitamin E, any antioxidants, or if you have a digestive health issue that's compromising your ability to absorb antioxidants, or if you're out in the sun a lot and you're depleting your body of vitamin C and vitamin E, you're at risk for cataracts. One of the most powerful sources of oxidants, of electricity or electron-stealing substances, is cigarette smoke, and that includes passive smoke, if you're around people who are smoking. What are people thinking when they go out and they smoke in public so everybody can breathe their cigarette smoke? If you're a cigarette smoker and you're smoking where other people who are not smoking or inhaling or being affected by your passive smoke, what are you thinking? If you're a smoker, it's even worse, of course. But even if you're exposed to cigarette smoke, you should be well advised to make sure you're using antioxidants after every cigarette or after being exposed to cigarettes. Nutrients that protect the lungs and the eyes from the toxic effects of cigarette smoke include vitamin E. I'd be using N-acetylcysteine. That's also important for eye health and for lung health. I'd be sipping on the BTT after every cigarette. I'd be gargling with the BTT after every cigarette, contacting the skin on your throat with the nutrients in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. It would probably be a good idea to gargle with some vitamin C water too. If you're starting to have problems with night vision, or you have problems with sensitivity to glare, or if you're seeing a halo around light, consider the possibility that you're starting to get cataracts. It's even more likely if you're a diabetic. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side. We're coming back at you with more good health information in your phone calls right after this. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll be back after this. Dr. Althea Myrie is our guest at the bottom of the hour. She is an expert on epigenetics, and we'll be talking about using nutritional supplements for genetic health issues. She's got a couple other interesting takes on the digestive system and on water, and that will be coming up in the bottom of the hour. 855-660-4261 is our number for this segment. If you want to learn more about the longevity products, you can head over to brightsideben.com, take a look at our shopping cart with all the longevity products. You can also click on the Join the Team link and join me in my mission to help educate the world about the power and importance of a good nutritional supplement program. Or, of course, you can always call the Brightside Ben phone team at 866-735-2470. Okay, there's a few more things I want. We'll talk about cataracts tomorrow. We'll talk about eye health in general tomorrow as we continue talking about antioxidants and glutathione. Glutathione actually is important for bone health, and we'll be talking about that as well in the coming Brightside episodes. I think let's get some phone calls in at 855-660-4261 before we go to Dr. Myrie in the bottom of the hour. Andrew in Virginia, what's up? Welcome to the Brightside.
Yes, hello, thank you. We had a friend who is going to be doing this dialysis, and we were wondering what your opinion was as far as taking it initially for a time or over maybe 1 year and then stopping it, or is it something?
Well, what's the deal? Is there some kind of kidney going? Is it an acute condition? Is it a chronic condition? Renal failure? What's the deal?
I'm not sure exactly about that. I don't know exactly some of the details.
Well, kidneys, as you probably know, filter out waste, liquid waste that's in the blood. Waste in the blood, excess water from the blood, all that comes out of the kidneys. The kidneys are made up of the filtering mechanism. The kidneys are made up of very, very tiny blood vessels, miles and miles and miles of tiny blood vessels. And these blood vessels are very easily disturbed. They're very easily destroyed, especially by sugar. In fact, sugar is the number one reason why people end up on dialysis and end up with kidney disease. We're talking about how sugar affects the eyes. And it's the same idea. The eyes also have lots of tiny, tiny little blood vessels. The tiny little blood vessels are the ones that are the most fragile, and they're the ones that are the most likely to be compromised by elevations in blood sugar. So, assuming that your friend has a chronic condition, that's usually why people go on dialysis. There's pretty much the damage is already done. And you're not going to, for the most part, people are not coming off of dialysis. However, there's lots of things that you're going to want to be doing. And that's a really important point. Sometimes we think, well, what kind of medicines can I take to cure me? Or what kind of nutrients can I take to cure my health condition? Oh, I have arthritis. What kind of medicine can I take to make my arthritis disappear? Oh, that didn't make my arthritis disappear. Or what kind of nutrients can I take to make my kidney disease disappear? Or so I won't have to use dialysis. That's not how nutrients work. Nutrients work by making the body work better. Nutrients don't work to help cure a disease state. They help the body cure the disease state. Now, by the time somebody's gone into dialysis or requires dialysis, chances are they've been mucking around with the delicate biochemistry of their body for decades. So you're not going to take a vitamin to cure a kidney disease if somebody's already on dialysis. That having been said, it's extremely important that anybody with kidney disease and anybody on dialysis is replacing their water-soluble nutrients throughout the day. And we all should be doing it, but especially if you're on dialysis and especially if you got a problem with your kidneys. Got a problem with your kidneys, chances are you're losing magnesium, you're losing calcium, you're losing chloride, you're losing phosphorus, you're losing your electrolytes, you're losing your B vitamins, you're losing your vitamin C at a much more rapid rate than anybody else is. That means it becomes extra important to replace the vitamin C, to replace the potassium, to replace the calcium, to replace the magnesium, to replace the electrolytes, to replace the B vitamins. And how do you do that? Get your friend on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Do it as soon as you can. Do it today. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give anybody with kidney problems, anybody with kidney disease, anybody on dialysis, anybody, period. Especially now with Christmas coming up. Get them a Christmas present. Get them on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Get them on the Healthy Start Pack. Make sure he's on the Mighty 90. Focus on your water-soluble nutrients and your electrolytes. And of course, you don't necessarily, it's not only going to come from the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and supplements. Vegetables are very important. Vegetable juices are very important. Vegetable soups are very important. In fact, vegetables, next to supplementation, are the most important place where we get these water-soluble nutrients. If your friend's not a vegetarian, have them eating organ meats, fish liver, any kind of liver. These are wonderful sources of the B complex as well as these minerals, these electrolytic minerals. So focus on electrolytes, focus on vitamin C, focus on the B complex. Make sure your friend's getting the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and the Healthy Start Pack as well. And of course, restrict, actually completely eliminate. By the time you're on dialysis and you have kidney disease, it's no time just to restrict. You got to completely eliminate refined flour, cereal, bread, refined sugars of all kinds. I'd be staying away from fruits even, and just using vegetables, and certainly staying away from fruit juices and desserts and cakes and dessert kinds of foods. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, God bless, Andrew. Good luck with everything.
You too.
All right, Charlie in Kentucky, welcome to the bright side. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Ben, just curious, I've heard reference to the Mighty 90 several times. I never really heard explained exactly what that would be in longevity products. That'd be like CPP and GFAs? Or
the Mighty, okay, that's a great question, Charlie, and I'm glad you brought that up. I just assumed that everybody knew what that was, and that's probably not a good assumption. The Mighty 90 is the term, I guess you'd say, the slogan that the folks at Longevity came up to describe the 90 essential nutrients that everybody needs. The minerals, the vitamins, the essential fatty acids, and the amino acids that everybody needs to get in their diet. The body can make a lot of nutrients, but it cannot make 90 of them. 90 essential nutrients. Minerals, amino acids, vitamins, and essential fatty acids. There's 90 of them that the body cannot make. They have to come in from the diet. Now, because of the way we eat, because of food processing, because of soils, it's difficult to get them from food. Thus, the importance of supplementation. Now, supplementation means supplementing, they're not all you need, they're supplements to what you need. They supplement a diet. So you want to make sure you're eating correctly, getting enough protein in your diet, getting enough good fats in the diet, getting enough minerals in the diet. But in addition to all of that, you want to make sure you're supplementing. This is because of food processing and because of poor agriculture techniques. Foods just don't have the complete the set of those nutrients. So you supplement the diet with the 90 essential nutrients. They're called the Mighty 90. Mighty because they are indeed mighty. Not because they're going to cure any disease, as I just said, but because they are going to give the body the raw materials it needs to do its work. Everybody needs them. They're essential. Where do you get them? From the 3 products in the Healthy Start Pack. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the OsteoFX, and the Ultimate EFAs. It costs you about $120 a month, $3 a day, to make sure that your body has the bare bones minimum wage essential nutrients that every biological system needs. You probably need more than that, to be perfectly honest, but that's the minimum. That's the bare bones minimum. It costs you $3 a day to get those 90 nutrients in a supplemental form. Now, you still need to make sure you're eating vegetables all day long. You still need to make sure you got a good source of protein like whey protein or egg protein. And you got to make sure that you're getting good fats from things like fish or grains and other essential fatty acid-rich foods. Flax seeds are a good source of essential fatty acids. Fish liver is a great source of essential fatty acids. And, of course, grains and seeds and nuts in general are going to be a good source of omega-6 fatty acids. But then you want to supplement, add to that the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're coming back with Dr. Althea Meyer.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
All right, welcome back to The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. We're joined by Dr. Althea Meyer, nutritionist and naturopath and expert on epigenetics. We're going to be talking a little bit about epigenetics and water if we get a chance to. And Dr. Meyer's got some interesting takes on chewing gum. I want to get to that as well. Greetings, Dr. Meyer. Welcome to The Bright Side.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming to us. Now, you're in Massachusetts, is that correct?
Actually, no, I'm in New York.
Oh, you're in New York. Okay, and you practice as a naturopath?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about your journey into naturopathy and how you got involved, and then I will start talking a little bit about one of my favorite subjects and one of yours as well, epigenetics. How did it all begin for you?
I think I read my first book at 16 years old, and I thought, well, goodness, who's been lying to me about health?
Right.
And I never stopped reading since I was 16. I subsequently formalized it. I did a lot of reading over the years. I always say if we educate, we won't medicate. So
Nice.
Educating the public is key to me. And so I forged for many years to try and understand the root causes of diseases as opposed to the medical model, which is we treat the symptom and hope for the best, rather than actually establishing the root cause, in which case you rip the heart out of the disease and the disease process will turn around and you will actually effect what we are not supposed to say is a cure.
Now, if you say root causes, as in plural, do you really mean root causes, or is there one root cause to disease, or is it multifactorial?
Without a doubt, it's multifactorial. There are numerous pathways. I'm a pathway person, so I find the multiple pathways that took me to the diagnosis of diabetes or took me to a diagnosis of autism. And so, no, there are multiple pathways that take us to a disease.
Now, do you work at like functional medical people do with testing and using various test scores and blood tests and that kind of thing?
Right. I don't use the typical testing. I have access to two types of testing that give me data that I normally would not find in the medical domain. And one of them is saliva, where we're doing the spit test, very simple, but it gives me a complete snapshot of how people are doing internally, how the organs are functioning, and most importantly these days is if someone's very close to having a heart attack. Now, normally in the medical domain, you could go to the hospital the day before the heart attack, and they won't be able to identify it 9 times out of 10 until you've had the heart attack. So through the testing, we're able to see, looking at the DNA, that people have inherited heart disease from a mother or father's line, paternal or fraternal line. And this is important to understand because people often say, especially in, say, it was whatever company, any multi-level or a company that's selling nutritional products, and everybody's involved and doing well, and then somebody important suddenly dies of a heart attack, and they go, well, was there a value to taking these nutrients or these minerals if it didn't save this person? And what they don't understand is that the products did help that person. It may have slowed down the disease process, but it did not have the ability to reverse it because it's an inherited problem. You've come in with this inherited weakness and susceptibility. What is wonderful about the people I work with is they then do formulas that will actually change genetic inherited disorders. So we can actually correct the problem. Then the minerals will work absolutely fine to maintain this good health that they have.
This is this is what you mean by epigenetics.
Epigenetics, correct.
Oh, so you're talking about using nutritional factors to modulate or somehow modify or change genetics.
Correct. And that is absolutely 100% possible to do, and I've been doing this. The other testing we do is through England. We send blood and urine to a lab there, and they look at the oncogenes. We are able to see.
Well, hang on. Tell us what Tell us about what oncogenes.
Yes.
Okay.
The cancer genes that regulate. Again, we're back to root causes. Before you get the cancer, the genes change, and they're called cancer genes. So again, I did years of studies to find how can I change or influence these genes. So the lab shows me 1 year prior, at least a year before, that cancer is on the way. There's a pro-tumor testing. We're then I can use natural substances to then influence and correct, i.e. there's one called the P53 gene. These are only words, but it's a major one that goes wrong and out of balance when you get cancer. So I found natural products that will correct that.
Hang on, before you continue, I want to make sure I understand this. So you can actually find an oncogene a year before a cancer shows up. You can show a genetic change that has occurred up to a year before the actual cancer shows up. So you have a year head start on chemotherapy, on a chemotherapeutic protocol. That's very interesting. Now, this will show up in a saliva test?
2 ways. We will see it in the saliva, not as precisely. The saliva will only indicate that the cancer, there's some particular, will identify a particular type of cancer on the way. But the blood and urine shows me the exact genes that have gone out of balance that you need to put back into balance to avoid the cancer coming. And this is possible. And again, we use natural substances, but as I say, these studies that I find that support the theory, the evidence that these substances, green tea extract, different natural substances will actually influence these genes. And these are found on the medical websites.
So now, conversely, if there's these factors that can actually correct genetic changes, green tea, vitamin C, vitamin E, does it follow that deficiencies in these nutrients or deficiencies in these substances can actually trigger genetic changes, oncogenetic changes?
Without a doubt. In England, they did there's something called the Avon study, and this is where we get into epigenetics, where the environment, whether that is the nutrients you're taking, the mother is consuming or the grandmother is consuming, will have an impact on your genetic makeup of the grandchildren. So the Avon study, they went back to, I think, 1890, right through to the 1900s, and they looked at a group of people to look at what did food, if the grandmother had less food or a particular type of foods, supplies, the food supply they were looking at. And what was interesting, they found if there was poor availability of food during mid-childhood, that was linked or associated with reduced risk of death from diabetes because we're not stuffing all the carbs. So when we say reduced poor availability of food, actually they found in the war people were healthier when they had reduced availability of food.
How do you like that? Less food, less disease. Is that what I'm hearing you say? That's
that
very
is exactly what we know this about the genes. Again, DNA is affected by, or longevity, by how much food you eat, and we're overeating. So clearly, yes, there is a clear correlation between what happens with the grandparents and their food intake and what then happens to the But what they did find, it was sex-specific. The grandmothers only affected the grandchildren, the granddaughters, and the grandfathers only affected the grandson.
Hang tight, Dr. Meyer. We've got to take a break. I want to talk about some of the mental and psychological aspects of epigenetics when we come back, if that's okay. We're talking to Dr. Althea Myrie about epigenetics. Got a couple other topics we're going to touch on, too. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back after this. we're back on the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben. We're talking to Dr. Althea Myrie about epigenetics. By the way, Doc Wallach has a book. I don't know. Did you know Dr. Wallach has a book called Epigenetics? It should be out in March, Dr. Myrie?
I do indeed. Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been talking about epigenetics for a long time. I've been talking about epigenetics for a long time. You're starting to hear more and more about it. I actually first learned about it back in pharmacy school in the 1980s. They told us about these factors that affect genes, but you still hear over and over and over again about genetics and the central dogma, and now people having prophylactic mastectomies, having parts of their body hacked off just in case because they've got some kind of genetic predilection.
The BRCA1 gene.
The BRCA gene.
That, what I found was a study that Angela Jolie just cut off her breast. And obviously the fear of seeing her mother die is frightening. But this does not save the day. They found that stress was a factor in causing a mutation, which is a disruption of that BRCA1 gene, why these women cut their breasts off. Now, wouldn't it be more advisable to give them, techniques like yoga or meditation?
Don't you think?
Stress?
Right, a little relaxation. How significant is this emotional and psychological and mental health aspect when it comes to modifying genes? Is it as significant as the nutritional aspect?
It is absolutely huge. It is a monster, is what I have to say. My findings recently, it's been very disturbing to see studies that show that women that have been abused as a child have 4 times more likely to produce a child with autism.
How interesting.
So I found, and the children with autism, it is genetic. They always have no ability to what the medical word is methylation. But basically, in my language, it's inability to detoxify properly. And then one of those mechanisms in the human body for detoxification is called methylation. Now, when we talk about epigenetics, that word means methylation detox capacity, but on a genetic
methylation.
level.
I never heard that term. Spell methylation, Doc.
methy.
Oh, methylation. I see. Okay, gotcha.
Good grief, yes. Okay, methylation, methylation. I'm British.
Okay, I apologize.
Yes, so sorry about that. But the point is, in English, it's about the body's capacity to detoxify at a cellular level. Now, you imagine that the mother's state of mind and her stress levels have a direct effect on the genetics of our unborn baby.
On methylation.
Yeah, methylation will not be happening, and this is linked to, there's also studies showing, I have a file on birth insults, so what are the things that are changing these babies, and they're then told they have autism. Well, a huge factor I kept seeing, I had one mother, she was divorced before the baby was born. That's high stress. And so, again, the stress of the mother affects the brain of the baby, and the baby then will grow up as an adult with very low coping mechanisms, and then we get, you have a propensity for depression and suicide. But you have to go back to the epigenetics and see what changed this baby before it was born, and it's the state of the mother.
Let's talk nutritional supplements. I know there's methylating nutritional supplements. What could you recommend for somebody who feels like there may be some oncogenetic potential, some potential for having cancer-causing genes, or there's cancer in the family? What are some good epigenetic supporting nutrients that you can tell our audience about?
Again, without getting too precise, because obviously I have files and files. If it's lymphoma, if it's brain tumor, you want to look at this. And some of them are the medicinal mushrooms, obviously have an influence. And like they make that coffee. What is it they do? There's Gano. So there are medicinal mushrooms is one aspect. You have the green tea extract is another major player.
Is it just the extract, or is it green tea as well? Just sipping on green tea.
People go mad with green tea. Well, they must understand. I'm also called the water doctor. And if you have the green tea, it has caffeine. Now, normally 1 cup of coffee will remove 4 glasses of water from your body. 1 cup of tea removes 3 glasses of water from your body. And we have a serious problem that underpinning all disease, foundationally, is a water problem, or the lack of water, and also the question of what water we drink. So it's very important for people to understand what are all the pathways you look at. So the nutrition is key. It is absolutely key when you ask me about nutrition affecting people. But the trouble with green tea is they start drinking like 10 cups a day. And I have a problem with that because I say to people, your body can only recognize water when nothing has been added to it. If you dip a tea bag in there, anything in there, you've altered the molecular structure and you are no longer drinking water that your body can do anything with.
So the body can't clean it can't filter out the H2O molecules from all the green tea stuff.
No, it cannot. And so you are basically, if you're looking at green tea as in you drink it, I say to people have 1 or 2 cups in the morning. The rest of the day, you need to pump in water with nothing in it.
Now, does the same hold true with food-based water, that the body can't separate the H2O molecules, say, from a piece of lettuce or tomato or something like that?
Well, I have to say, I mean, under normal circumstances, if we were functioning optimally, which we no longer are in the 21st century, then we would have that capability. But we are suffering from such severe levels of dehydration that it's also creating and contributing majorly to all diseases is the lack of water. And people think, well, I drink fluids, and that seems to be a sensible thought. But fluids do not get the lymphatic flowing, detoxing, get the colon moist, so we're not firing bullets. We actually have proper bowel movements, not dehydration down there. And these are key to me as a foundational. You have to look at the water. The same with the longevity nutrients. I've been using the minerals. They're absolutely extraordinary. But I find if there is proper hydration, you get more uptake of the nutrients at a cellular level at much faster rate than if you're bone dry.
Now, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, you're drinking that, and also the Ultimate Classic and Tangy Tangerine. Does that bypass some of those difficulties?
Yes, the Tangy Tangerine is absolutely ingenious to me because prior to knowing about that product, I had to find the best zinc product I could find. I then have to match it up with copper. I then had to find the right vitamin C, and all of these cost me money, a lot of money. Whereas this is so balanced because of the synergistic effect. If you put things in balance, they have ultimately much better effect than if you take isolated products and try and put them together yourself.
And you don't need as high doses.
No, and you don't require high doses, not at all.
Pretty cool. That's very cool.
And again, you have to remember your blood is water. Plasma is 90% water. So if you're drinking coffee all day and you're depleting the levels of water in your blood,
you have coffee blood.
You're going to get thick, sticky blood. And how do you transport the tangy tangerine up to the cells? It's through the blood. But you're restricting that capability because you're too dehydrated.
Now, you're participating in the longevity program, correct? Are you a distributor?
I am indeed, yeah.
And how long have you been involved?
It's very recent, only in the last, 3 or 4 months, actually. I was aware of Dr. Wallach's work many years ago, and as practitioners, we duck and dive and look at many things, and then came across the Tangy Tangerine more recently, and was very impressed. So I've only recently started using it in the last 4 months, but makes a huge difference. And I say to people, they ask the question always, do I have to take these products for the rest of
their
my
life? Yeah, right.
So I say to them, well, okay, do you need food every day? And they go, yes. And I say, well, yeah, you do need this because you no longer have these minerals or these nutrients in the food chain anymore. So how on earth are you going to get them if you don't take it daily?
That's a funny question when people say that, do I need to take these nutrients for the rest of my life? Because like you say, you're eating the rest of your life. You're using up nutrients on a daily basis. Of course, those things are going to need to be replaced. One of the things I find interesting about people's concepts about nutritional supplementation is the idea that people want to treat diseases using nutritional supplements, forgetting that your body runs on nutritional supplements, and it's not just a question of treating diseases, it's a question of taking care of the body. Dr. Meyer, it's been a pleasure and an honor talking to you. How do people get in touch with you if they have questions or they want to talk to you about any particular health conditions they may have?
Well, they can email me at the... they can certainly email at Eleva, is it Eleva Water? ELEVA. So if you just put elevawater.com,
Yeah, they'll get information?
They can get some information, but what they'd have to do if they're going to send an email, if they do, as my assistant, if they do Laura, Laura, Laura at alivawater.com.
Laura at Aliva, Doc, we're just flat out of time. Laura at alivawater.com. Thank you so much, Dr. Meyer. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back at you with more good health information tomorrow on the bright side. Thanks for listening, folks.